Welcome to Manage It Monday.
Hey everyone, I'm Rochelle Howell, and I want to welcome you back to another episode of Manage It Monday. This is your midday moment to focus on what matters in your food business. I like to start the week with focus and intention, so let's get started. Today's topic is perfect for early stage food entrepreneurs, but it can apply to any business interested in selling food outside your doors. We're talking about vending at outdoor events like farmers markets, street festivals, carnivals, and pop ups. Growing up in Chicago, the Taste of Chicago was a must go. You gathered your money so you could try all the food. And today, festivals and markets are even more popular. So, if you have a cookie recipe or are wondering if people will buy your famous shrimp kebabs, temporary event vending is the best way to test your business ideas, to get in front of real customers, and to make a little money without the major cost of owning a restaurant or operating a food truck. Now, today we'll cover why now is the time to start planning, the biggest mistakes new vendors make, and how to avoid them. And we will also talk permits, training, and food safety basics you need to know before signing up for an event. And then by the end of this episode, you'll have a plan to get started and to take action this week. Now, let's get to it. Before we dive into what works, let's talk about what doesn't. Maybe you've seen these mistakes happen, or if you are an experienced vendor, maybe you've made some of them yourself. The last minute vendor. This person finds an event, signs up, and then realizes they need permits, inspections, or commissary kitchen. Now they're running around scrambling, they're stressed, and they're spending money they didn't plan for. Now, what's a better approach? To research event requirements and food safety rules before you apply. This saves that time, that money, and so many headaches. All right, up next, the food safety blind spot. Now, this person thinks, I can just cook at home and sell at a market, right? But most locations don't allow home cooked food unless it falls under cottage food laws. And even then, there are some restrictions about which market will take them. A cottage food permit allows you to make non potentially hazardous foods that don't require temperature control for safety at home with modified requirements. These apply to things like cookies, some cakes, pies, jellies, jams, and a few other things. If you are the food safety blind spot person and want to sell food that requires time and temperature control for safety, this is also known as TCS foods, you'll probably need to get a licensed kitchen so that you can prep. This requirement looks different depending on your location of the health department and the type of the food that you sell. Some areas require complex preparation of food to happen inside a permitted kitchen, such as a commissary or shared kitchen. And others may require you buy all the food the day of the event to ensure you don't store it or prep it at home. That is a no no. And finally, the wrong event vendor. They pick an event without checking if it matches their product and their price point. Imagine trying to sell a $20 gourmet chocolate covered delicious strawberry at a summer pop up where most people want a $5 kid friendly snack. Make sure you choose events that match your ideal customer, your product, and your pricing and branding. And all of that should fit the audience to make the most of your time and your money. You know, these mistakes can kill your momentum, but when you plan ahead, vending can be a major boost for your business. So, how do you set yourself up for a smooth vending season? Let's plan for success. Step 1, pick the right product. Not all food is easy to sell outdoors. I'll group them in two categories. The first one is a low risk, cottage food friendly foods like jams, baked goods, spices, teas, packaged snacks. These are all great for beginners because they require low overhead and they're pretty easy to transport to an event. The second is your high risk foods like hot food, meat, dairy based items. These high risk foods require additional permits and they require additional handling, logistics, a licensed kitchen, some training. They can go on and on with what you need. You have to consider your starting budget when planning your menu. How much do you have to cover your first event? If you're starting on a very limited budget, then selling packaged food like cookies, dried herbs, those jams, those jellies, teas, those are going to be the easiest way to go. You can test your recipes, you can build your customer base, and then move into cooked foods once you have a system in place. Now, don't get me wrong. If you have experience operating in a restaurant, or maybe you've done some catering, or maybe you've done previous events, you already have a product and know what you want to sell. But the amount of work you want to do on site should be what you assess. Step number 2, pick the right event. Farmers markets are best for building repeat customers and selling locally made, high quality products. You'll need a strong brand here. It's your way to stand out among regular vendors, but it's easy to get a regular following if your product is good. Farmers markets usually have lower fees, and some health departments also have a few little bit more lenient requirements for these type of festivals. You often will see that cottage food businesses may sell at farmers markets and nowhere else. So, if you want to grow your business, don't plan on being a cottage food business for too long. There are a lot of restrictions that can make it just a little bit more difficult for you to scale. So, check your local health department for specifics. Festivals and carnivals. These have high foot traffic, but people usually expect a fast grab and go food at a lower price point. So often festivals and carnivals are multi-day events with a higher booth fee. So that's something to consider. But they are ideal for items like tacos, sandwiches, barbecue, fried food, sweets, kebabs, and refreshing drinks like lemonade. Speed and efficiency matter at festivals, okay? And then you have your pop ups and private events, which are good for testing out new products and making connections for future sales. You can partner with a local business or an event organizer to reach a specific audience when it comes to pop ups and private events. So keep in mind that what you can sell is based on the type of event. You need to know, can you cook on site or does it only allow for hot or cold food holding that you had to prepare somewhere else? And then also consider the attendance. Does the event or the event planner or even you have a large enough following that will support more of a private type of event? If not, you may not make your money back. But there is no shortage of opportunity when it comes to vending. There are a variety of events throughout the year, and although summer has the biggest festivals, do your research because you may want to spread it out throughout the year. And step 3, know the health department requirements. I think I talk about that every week. This is where people get tripped up. Every country, state, city, and municipality could have different requirements. What works for one major city may not even apply to its surrounding suburbs. So you will have to rely on the health department requirements for the location of the event that you are vending and not the location in which you have a permitted restaurant or commissary kitchen. In fact, if you have a license for your kitchen or your food truck in another jurisdiction, they may not even accept it. They may require you to submit additional documents so that you can get approved in their location, in their jurisdiction, or their city. Now, they may even require you to use a different facility altogether because it may just be too difficult to change it over. So, what am I saying? Do not agree to sell at any festival unless you know you can meet the health department requirements first. Okay, now here's an example comparing the city of Chicago with St. Louis County. These are not all the differences, but they are some of the major ones that I want to point out. Chicago requires you take a summer vendor sanitation class. They don't allow you to wash utensils on site, and they have very strict rules about prepping food in advance, such as no complex food prep on site, and you must use an approved kitchen to wash, cook, and portion large amounts of food. Versus St. Louis County, who may require you consult with your inspector before you get your permit to ensure that you know the regulations. They may require you to purchase all your food and cook it on site the day of the event unless you have an approved commissary. And they require that you set up a sink station, like to properly wash, rinse, and sanitize your utensils. Now, this may seem unfair, but there are a lot of food establishments in Chicago. So having strict rules for them helps to control many of the risks. It's all about keeping people safe. Let's be real. No one wants to have a foodborne illness outbreak from those sandwiches you are selling. Once again, make sure you check regulations before paying those vendor fees. You don't want to lose all your money because you can't get approved by the health department, because most of the time they don't give you a refund. Now, I'm going to tell you about two food vendors, and I want you to just think about how their stories will end. The first one is the Cheesecake Lady. She was so excited to start selling at a festival and thought she had everything figured out. She made homemade cheesecake, and that was a hit with her family and friends. So she knew she had something to sell. So she signed up for a big event, she paid the booth fees, and she started planning her setup. But here's the problem: cheesecake is a time control or temperature control for safety food, those TCF foods I mentioned. And that means she has to follow strict guidelines for food safety. She did not realize she was going to need to have a licensed kitchen and mechanical refrigeration. She could not afford either. So, what do you think happened? She couldn't get approved to sell, and the festival wouldn't refund her vendor fee. So, of course, she lost time, she lost money, and confidence. She missed out on the event and had to rethink her business idea. Because you know why? It's illegal for her to make cheesecake at home and sell it to the public. She rushed into vending without planning. What are her options? She can find a shared kitchen and make her cheesecakes there, or she can change her business idea to non TCS foods and operate as a cottage food vendor. Now let's look at Kid Cookie. He's number two. He wanted to start a food business, but he really thought about his approach. He decided to start with packaged spice blends and homemade delicious chocolate chip cookies. Both of these were covered under cottage food laws. So he picked smaller markets and pop ups first so that he could keep his costs low, and he built a customer base. His products were easy to transport because they didn't require refrigeration and they had a low food safety risk. And after his first season of consistent sales, he reinvested his profits. So now, what do you think happened with him? He decided to start making hot food. He found a commissary kitchen. He improved his food safety knowledge and got some certifications. And now he has a loyal following. He made more money with less stress. Now, which vendor would you rather be? The one struggling to catch up or the one growing strategically? The goal isn't to just sell at an event, it's to build a business that works. The easiest way to do that: start simple, follow the rules, and scale up when you're ready. This is why knowing the vending rules and regulations ahead of time is so important. If the cheesecake lady had done her research, she could have saved hundreds of dollars and a lot of stress. Now, let me tell you how I avoided these mistakes with my ghost kitchen cake business. When I first started, I wanted to get into vending as I only delivered my cakes to people in the area. One of the biggest festivals in my area was the Taste of St. Louis. It was a huge event. It had tons of traffic, and it was a great opportunity to get my food in front of a lot of people. But here was the problem: booth fees. They were high. I didn't have the funds to drop on a space, and I didn't have a huge following yet. So I wasn't sure if I'd even make my money back. So instead of spending all that money up front, I got creative. Here's what I did: I partnered with a local restaurant that already had a booth at the festival. Instead of getting my own space, I became the dessert add on for their meals. It was perfect. I stood by the register and I upsold my cakes for a couple of extra dollars as people were paying. And instead of paying a flat vendor fee, I paid a portion of my sales to the restaurant, the owner of that booth. This was a game changer for me because I got in front of every customer who bought a meal at that booth without the risk of having my own. I kept more of my money because I only paid out of what I actually sold. And then one of my sales actually led to a huge Christmas order for the employees at Dot Foods. And that opened doors for even more business. You know, you don't always have to take the traditional route. Sometimes the smartest move is to start lean, find creative solutions, and focus on getting your products in front of the right people without overspending, but by always following the law. This is exactly why I tell new vendors to think strategically. If you're just starting out, look for ways to reduce upfront cost. Look for ways to partner with businesses that already have customers and get your products out there without taking on unnecessary risks. Now, for my main vending business takeaways. Pick your product wisely, people. Cottage food is the easiest starting point, but if you are a hit, you may have to quickly find a kitchen so you can scale. Be ready. Match your product to the right event. Some events fit your food better than others. Know the health regulations. They change by location. So do your homework. And if it seems expensive or too much work, consider partnering with another business. Getting this right from the start will save you time, money, and a lot of stress. All right, now, business leaders, here's what I need you to do for this week. I want you to make a list of 3 to 5 food products that you want to sell. And then I want you to find 2 to 3 events and determine which health department approves the vendors. Once you find that out, you're going to research that health department requirements. Do you need a permit? Do you need to use a licensed kitchen commissary? Is there additional training or certifications you need? And if so, sign up for a sanitation class. One of the biggest reasons I was able to make a partnership work when I vended was because I understood food safety, I understood the vending requirements, and I knew what I could legally sell. Now, if you're vending in Chicago, the sanitation class is required before you can sell food at events. But even if you're outside of Chicago, this class gives you a solid foundation so you know what's required to sell legally and safely, and you'll have some tips of your own. Now, knowing the rules before you book an event can save you hundreds or even thousands of dollars in mistakes. Now, do you want to make sure you're prepared? If so, visit my website to grab your spot in my next sanitation class. And I'll also let you save $5 if you register for that March 29th class and use the code FIRSTCLASS. Now, I'll also be sharing a step-by-step guide soon. So visit that website and sign up so that you can be the first to know. You'll be on our email list. Now, if you're planning to vend this event season, it's time to get started right now. Remember, you don't have to do it all alone. I'm here to help. Now, repeat after me. I am building my food business with intention. I plan ahead, I take smart steps, and I set myself up for success. Now, let's make this vending season one of your best. Thank you all for tuning in to Manage It Monday. And make sure you like this video so that I know you want to keep them coming. And I will see you next week.